Hello, I'm Dr. Basil Considine. I'm here from the ACU Online Writing Center, and today we're going to be talking about writing cover letters. Now, cover letters are used in a variety of correspondence, but the main purpose that people will be including one in this day and age is if they're applying for something, whether it's a job, a scholarship, perhaps to join a board of directors. There's this basic format that you want to be following. And so we're going to look at a sample assignment from an actual ACU course that requires you to write a cover letter because it provides a great practical set of guidelines to work with. Now, it happens that this assignment is being drawn from the PSYO 485 course, but again, the basic precepts of this assignment for writing a cover letter are setting expectations that you'll find in just about any professional situation where you're asked to write a cover letter. The exact length will vary based on the position and the kind and depth of experience that it requires, but the format laid out here, well, let's take a stock of things here. So this particular assignment asks students to prepare a resume with a cover letter that is appropriate for either a job application for a position requiring a bachelor's degree or a graduate school application for psychology or another relevant field. So you're applying for something that does require some education to get in, whether completed degree as a requirement for the job or either being in the process of completing or having already completed a degree for the graduate school application. So let's see what the instructions here tell you about what a cover letter should be. The cover letter is an introduction to your resume that enables you to focus your application to a prospective employer or program. More frequently, the cover letter is sent in an email. Yes. Now, there will also be applications where you upload it. It must be a concise introduction of who you are and provide a brief explanation of what you can offer the prospective employer or program. Okay. And here they're suggesting a 3-paragraph structure, which will approximately get us a 1-page cover letter. Depending on the length of your paragraphs, you might spill over into 2. Rarely does someone go over 2 pages these days. But there are a couple things at the executive level, say, where they might ask you to talk about your vision. But more and more, the norm is that anything else where they want to say, like a statement of teaching philosophy or a tell us your narrative or tell us why this program, where they would ask you to put that in a specific separate document. So the cover letter is really about introducing you. And that can and generally should include some suggestions and hints of what you bring, especially demonstrating that you meet the requirements. And, well, let's look at what the last one is saying. State contact information, express thanks to the reader, and reiterate your interest in the position of program. So this is kind of the polite, let's wrap things up. So the structure here is, hey, here's what you're writing for, here's what you bring, and then wrapping up. Now, we also have a set of questions that have been provided here. What is the purpose of the letter? What are the needs of the reader? What benefits will an employer gain from me? And how can I maintain the reader's interest? How can I end the letter persuasively so that the reader will want to read my resume and contact me? Okay, those are all good questions to keep in mind. But let's make this more specific. Let's look at a job. And for this, I've pulled up the jobs page at ACU. You could look at faculty jobs, you could look at staff jobs, you could look at student jobs. Let's look at student jobs for the moment. So we have a variety of different positions here, and these all happen to be located at the Abilene campus. And if we look through these, we see there's a wide range. There is a student model, there's registrar student worker, chapel production assistant, peer coach, office of the president, and many others. And I'd suggest taking a moment to think about why you want a particular job, why you're interested, beyond the making money, because your cover letter is going to make a case for why you. Why should they be interested in interviewing and or hiring you versus someone else. And that there are certainly jobs where the qualifications are more being available and interested and, collected, put together, able to show up on time. And there's some that will ask for more. And regardless of whether this is your first job or your 10th, I recommend thinking about what you bring to the table, what you have to offer, and start with that. So let us say that you have selected the Office of the President Student Assistant position. And so you say, okay, this job here, this is what I want to do. Now let's think about what we want in that cover letter. Now, we can see that there's a list of job qualifications here, so it'd be good to cover those. Are you a student here? Do you have prior experience in this? Have you used some of the software? And then we have a list of responsibilities that you might reference. We see that they're looking for a certain range of time, preferable slanting towards those who can work on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then this is what we call boilerplate. If you're a member of the ACU community, I think we're going to be primarily focused on the things here. So, alright, well, let's just pop up a Word document and let's see where we go here with these requirements in mind and this position in mind. Now, I've arranged here, I've just done a copy and paste of some of the information from the assignment instructions. So you have this set of questions we need to answer. We have the suggested 3-paragraph structure, which I think we should follow. And then we'll see what we can do with that. So, how would you begin? Well, let's look at a sample cover letter first. Now, I just did an internet search for Duke University and sample cover letter. Most universities will have a career center or a writing center that has sample materials and guidelines. And if we look at this letter, we'll see that although it doesn't follow the 3-paragraph form in suggesting this assignment, we find that we have a brief introduction. We have talk about skills that have been acquired. We have talk about their background, so more skills, but with some specific examples. And then work experience. And then we have the statement here that says, oh, hey, I'm very interested in your place. I have good qualifications for it, and here's some other stuff why I'm interested in that particular institution, this job. So while this doesn't give the contact information in the body here, that would be very easy to add here to just have my email address is whatever it is. Now, if you have that information at the top of your letter, it's not strictly speaking necessary to repeat, but it is one of those conventions that people may be expecting to do, and it does allow you to have something here just besides I look forward to hearing from you soon, or I hope to hear from you soon, etc., etc. So let's go back and look at our template now. So let's go ahead and add some basic information. But you might be wondering, hold on, what is this design thing here? What are these layouts and such? And it turns out that Word will give you a number of ways to improve the formatting, or to give you a starting place for shaping how this document will look. But if you really want to start with a cover letter format, then go to File, New from Template. And this will give you a set of options that you won't see otherwise, including, for example here, these templates for cover letters. Now, personally, I do not prefer this type where you have most of the space being blank, but it's certainly one you can use, and there are many other templates out there that you can download or find within Word. So let's say we're using this template here. So we can start by putting in our instructions here, and we know that there'll be some more things that we add later. Recipient information, that'll go there. And then here, contact information, that would be your information here. Now, I mentioned I personally don't like this because you have all of this white space that I would rather be filling with my information. Now, you can actually adjust this. So, for example, if I wanted to take this box and resize some of these things, you can adjust them. In my case, I want to adjust it enough that I can expand this part. And so, whether you do this with a pre-made template or you take this information here and then you give it that same sort of general layout, well, okay, let's add information. All right, two. And say, okay, well, now if the position lists a contact, you'll usually want to write them directly, but if not, just write the institutional address. So you could put in all the different information for ACU there. You can fill it in on your own. What else do you want? Well, let's go ahead and add a subject. And whether you use subject or RE colon, if you're using subject because of the line, we'll just match up our indentations here. And what was our position again that we chose? We chose the Office of the President Student Assistant. So I recommend just taking that exact text and pasting it in. I can select this Keep Text Only to make the formatting match. And then if you see a job number, that's always a good thing because they might have more than one job with the same name, but we want to identify the specific one that you are applying for. All right. So it's already starting to take some form here, and we can say, okay, let's go ahead and let's bold that, make it look a little nice. And then we'll also add a date here. And you'll see some people place this above the subject line, some people place it below. Let's put in today's date. And then whether you use dear or to whom it may concern or whatever, that's partly a matter of preference. I prefer to whom it may concern because it's very neutral and a little bit formal, which is how I like things with a job application. Alright, so state your reason for writing. I am writing to apply for the student assistant. And if you see typos as you go, you can stop and correct them or finish the sentence, whichever works better for your process. Now, the highlights of the background or training relevant to this, well, this is a job that's only available to ACU students, so tell us that you are an ACU student and what you bring. And tell us whatever that is. It doesn't have to be directly related to it, but if you're an undergrad, they'll want to know, so let us know. So let's say, and background and training. Okay, I previously worked, and let's say you work at another campus. Okay, And, okay, you've said, all right, here's why I'm writing. A little bit briefly about why you're doing this. And now we're on to the next paragraph. Okay, what can you offer? Now, this is going to depend on who you are, what you have, and the reason you want to prepare your resume beforehand is to look and see what's most relevant to this job. Because to see everything, they'll look at your resume, but you want to give a quick version of the most relevant things. So if we look at this job, we see must be an ACU student. Customer service preferred. How much? And you can list whatever combination there. All right. Proficiency. All right. So why mention these things? Well, first, because the qualifications say, hey, proficient in software. And also, these are specific functions that are very common in offices that would send a lot of mailings, like the Office of the President, and where you might be working in, say, budget calculations. So it's helpful to mention, hey, I have some skills that I think are relevant to this, because not everyone will have those. So if you have them, might as well highlight them. Now, looking at the other things, you might say, I am not specifically familiar with the Adobe Creative Suite. However, I have 2 years of graphic design experience in Canva and have attached a sample of my design portfolio. Now, why would you use language like this? This is saying, oh, I don't have that specific thing that you're asking for, but I have some relevant experience in the same area, just not with that specific program. Now, you could also add something after about how well you learn software and how fast, if that's something you have. But what it's saying is, hey, there's that requirement there. It may not be a requirement for that specific software so much as the task that lies behind it. And in that case, they may not care if you're using a different thing so long as, hey, we need a poster. Oh, you give us a poster. Great. And if you have a portfolio, and I would recommend saving samples of things you create. If you have a portfolio, and there's an option to include it, great. If there's not an option to include it, you can change this note to something like, and would be happy to provide my design portfolio for your reference. So you're saying, hey, I've got a portfolio if you want to see it. Now, this third paragraph is not going to be terribly taxing to write, so we won't spend any time on this. But let's look now at these questions. What is the purpose of the letter? Well, the purpose is to say, hey, I'm interested and I'm qualified. Shortlist me. Look at my resume. And so that's why you don't just give the bare basics, but also include details that you think will be of interest and relevance, like saying, hey, I have a particular interest because I want to go into leadership or something like that. What are the needs of the reader? They want to see, are you qualified or not? Part of that is, can you communicate clearly? Also, are there reasons for them to look further to put this in the look at more pile versus the reject pile? What benefits? That's something that you can go into more detail here or even here, as you see in the examples. So this letter here, say I've provided a combination of these things. I have core data analysis experience, complex problem solving. It's kind of a summary of skills that might not appear very prominently on a resume or be listed there necessarily, but you want to mention. And that's going back to the what benefits will the employer gain. Now, how can you maintain the reader's interest? Well, don't go too long. That's the big one. Don't go too long and keep it relevant. If you just start listing everything on your resume, it's probably not going to be terribly interesting. But if you list some details that seem directly relevant, okay, that's good. All right. Let's wrap things up here by writing a brief third paragraph here. Now, sometimes you end up with a sentence like this that is kind of long. I would be more than happy to provide any additional information that you would like, including samples of my portfolio or references. And part of the question is this giving new information or is this stuff that they've already added? Because in this case, we've referred to the portfolio up here. And so, okay, is there something new you can say that would be helpful? Now, with a student job, like this one that we're looking at here, something they're probably interested in is, when can you start? Are you available during the summer if they're advertising during the spring? So let's go ahead and do that. Rather than repeat things they've already known, I am interested and available to start immediately. Now, why would you mention this here? Well, most universities have a provision for student workers to continue working up through the start of the new year, sometimes a little bit longer. But this is saying, hey, I'm here. If you're looking for someone who can provide more than just one semester's coverage, I'm not only available this semester, I'm also available during the summer. And so, again, when it comes down to comparing different candidates, not everyone may have that. So providing that information is helpful and relevant to this. And you can list your email and phone information. And then this last thing, it's more of a stylistic thing. Some people just say, I hope to hear from you soon. In this example here that we were looking at, it just says, I look forward to hearing from you soon, sincerely. Looking at this next one, it just says, thank you considering for my application, sincerely. This other one, if you would like to meet with me, blah. So there are a number of different ways to do that, but you know, it's a nice way of marking, okay, the letter is done. All right, so let's recap what we've looked at here. So we started with a basic function and laid out as assignment. Hey, introduce what you're doing here in the letter. Oh, I'm writing to apply for this job. Explain what you can offer. Okay, relevant experience or skills or training. And then how to close it out. Now, you can always have this broken up into more than one paragraph if you have that relevant experience and the position merits it. You know, staying in one page is good. 2 pages is the normal limit for non-executive level positions. And then if they are asking for supplements, then there's usually a place to give specific details. But if your letter introduces them to who you are, provides a preview of the experience that you bring relevant to the job that is also on your resume, and then also shows that you are able to communicate clearly and you have an interest in this position, great. That's really what you want the cover letter to do. When it comes to looking at the application as a whole, there will be other factors under consideration, hopefully including an interview. But the purpose of the cover letter is to have people interested enough to look at the resume. And I think we've got a good foundation here. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you have questions, please feel free to send us an email at onlinewritingcenter@acu or sign up for an appointment at my.acu.edu. This is selecting the resources drop-down and Online Writing Center and following the instructions, or you can visit the Online Writing Center website directly. That's it. Have a good night.